So now it's time to read some more of Phoenix with my Phoenix group. Now this book has really impressed us, hasn't it, gang? Of all the books the groups chose, I wasn't looking forward to it, but it didn't seem to be my genre, but oh my goodness. Apologies to SF Said, the author. What you've done here, it breaches genres. It really is adventure mixed with fantasy, but then there's a lot of family and relationships, the whole thing with him and his mum. And the death of his mum was just like something out of a Hollywood movie. It really had a script. So again, as I've been saying to all the authors I've been reading, hope it doesn't breach copyright. I'm just getting my kids to carry on reading this fantastic book as we have been at school. So on to chapter 9, and we're going to learn more about life on the alien ship, and I'm really intrigued to find out the change in our lead character. Chapter 9. Bixer strode away down a cloistered corridor, her hooves clicking confidently on the curving floor. Lucky trailed along behind her, losing his balance and stumbling with every step until they reached an arched doorway. Through it was a cabin lit with candles and sticks of incense, and more vidscreens that glowed like stained glass, showing those mysterious figures Bixer had called the 12 Astreus. In the centre of the cabin was a fur-covered bed. An alien lady was tucked up inside it. She was old, like someone from another age, but she was grand as well. She was wearing a robe of turquoise and gold, blazing with colour like a peacock's feathers. A matching headscarf covered her hair. She had golden rings on every finger. Captain Knox and Frolics stood on either side of her bed. The captain was holding the astrolabe, and they seemed to be arguing about something. But as Lucky and Bixer entered the cabin, the lady looked up and saw them, and her eyes shone with fire as golden as her rings. She stared into Lucky's eyes. Her gaze seemed to reach directly into his brain. A worrying thought flashed through his mind. They eat eyeballs. Is that why she's staring into my eyes like that? Does she want to eat my eyeballs? He began to sweat. It felt very warm in this cabin, and very light, as if gravity was lower than elsewhere on the ship. There was a strange smell in the air, a mixture of gunpowder, chocolate, and spice. The alien lady drew her furs tighter round herself, and then spoke at last. "Welcome to the Sunfire," she said. "My name is Mystica Grandex. And I'm Lucky. Are you quite sure?" "Of course, it's my name," he replied. But as he spoke, he couldn't help remembering the Shadow Guard's words. "Diana Ashbourne, we know who you really are. We know your real name, and we know what you've done." There was so much he'd never known about his mother. He never even knew her real name. Maybe he'd never known his own. "Well, Lucky, or whatever your name is," said Mystica, "I heard what happened in the space park. I am sorry about your mother. What she did was courageous, and we will not forget it." "What exactly did happen back in the park?" Captain Knox cut in. "Why were the Shadow Guards after you? Why did your mother do what she did?" The words were like knives in Lucky's belly. He shut his eyes, trying to hold back the feelings that were rising up inside him. "I don't know. That's the scariest thing. They wanted something, and she knew what it was, but she never told me." "Well," said the captain, "do you know what her plans were at least?" "She asked me to take you somewhere safe. A remote moon, perhaps?" Lucky didn't know what to say. How could that possibly help him to find his father? He knew he had to be strong here, to stand up for what he wanted, but it was so hard to speak with those fiery eyes on him. Frolics stood up and tended to the candles, which were burning low. "That don't make sense, Captain. Shouldn't we take him to his family? Where's your family, kid?" Lucky peered at the enormous alien, his mother's words echoing in his mind. "They're not devils. There are people just like you and me." Was it possible that they really might help him? "The only family I know about is my father," he made himself reply. He's in the war zone beyond the space wall. That's where I want to go. Captain Knox's eyes burned. Do you have any idea what you're saying? His huge grey horns glinted in the candlelight, casting long shadows. Isn't that where the alien worlds are? Said Lucky. Isn't that your home? Not anymore. The captain looked down. There are things out there. What sort of things? Said Lucky, feeling cold at the thought of something that could scare this formidable alien. But the captain wouldn't say any more. If that's where your father is, he growled, then forget about him. We'll do what your mother wanted. Drop you on a nice, safe moon. I'm not going to forget about my father. Lucky shuddered and forced himself to press on. I'm going to find him, whatever it takes. I don't want to go to some moon. I'm going to the war zone. There was a moment of silence. The aliens looked at each other. But where in the war zone exactly? Said the old lady. It covers half the galaxy, you know. How'd you plan to find him in the middle of all that? Lucky had no answer. The cabin felt like it was beginning to spin around him, and only one thing was clear, just how hard it was going to be to find his father. Hey, don't look sad, said Frolics. There must be something, some clue. What else do you know about him? Not much. He's been fighting in the war since before I can remember. My mother never liked talking about him. I've only got one thing of his, the astrolabe. So why don't you use it to find him? Said Bixer. Lucky blinked. A spark of hope flickered inside him. Could it do that? It certainly could, said Captain Knox. If it was working properly. Astrolabes are the most powerful navigational devices ever made. They can find anything in the galaxy, from a person to a planet. But yours is the most temperamental I've ever seen. It gave me just enough to plot a course, but no more. I believe there's something wrong with it. He held the black metal disc out to Lucky. You see, not a single glimmer of light. Lucky took the astrolabe and held it in his hands. It was true. There was no silver glow. The symbols around its circumference weren't even visible. It just looked like dead black metal. But it was a relief to hold it again. It felt so good to have it back. It made him feel closer to his father. Made him believe he really could find him out there in infinite space. Look, breathed Mystica. Lucky looked down and his skin prickled. The black metal was starting to glow again. The 12 symbols were beginning to glimmer. They gleamed and shimmered with a faint silver light that seemed to come from somewhere far, far away. Lucky was obviously needed to make the astrolabe work properly. Maybe his father's made it so only Lucky can use it. Let me see that, said the captain, reaching for it. But the moment he touched it, the light flickered out, and the astrolabe looked dull and dead once more. Don't do that, said Mystica. Let it be with the boy. Only the boy. No one else is to touch it. Lucky held the astrolabe close, as if protecting it, and as he warmed it with his hands, he sensed the light coming back into it again. It was glowing at his touch, and his touch alone. Bizarre, said the captain. Why did it light up for him and no one else? I've been using astrolabes all my life, and I've never found one I couldn't work. I tell you, there's something wrong with it. Perhaps a Star Talker could... I think perhaps, interrupted Mystica, this astrolabe is protected, so only the boy can use it. Why don't you show him how it works? Would you like that, boy? Oh, yes, please, begged Lucky. Oh, yes, please, begged Lucky. I got a bit carried away. This is a long old chapter, so I'm going to stop it here and we'll do a chapter 9 part 2. But this, Lucky is so special. His mother called him Lucky for a reason, and I think we're going to find out what that is.